And now it is time for the highly anticipated Cool K-PAC Competition. Steve Boisvert, come on up and lead us through. Yeah, that's right.
How's everybody doing? All right, you guys all back from lunch? Some food was going on. Well, we're ready to get going. We're going to get going with the Cool K-PAC Competition 2023. If you could you guys switch to the input so we have the presentation on the screen here? All right. So what I want to start off with is often we get asked, how did this come about, this whole competition? Why do we do it? What's its purpose? And so I know a lot of you have been to the conference, year after year. You've been here before. You kind of know how it originated, but there's several here that do not know the origin. So it all started back in 2016. We were at the Knowledge Aware Conference, and we were in Troy, Michigan at the time, and we were collecting feedback from the users, and we encourage you guys to provide feedback because we do listen and we try to address all of your feedback and apply that to the upcoming years. And so one of the things we were hearing was that a lot of the presentations they were seeing were more about implementation and not so much about tactical solutions or use case based solutions. And people wanted to see how do you solve these specific problems? And so from that, we're like, okay, maybe there's something we can do about that. And then throughout the year, throughout 2016 and early 2017, as we're meeting with different organizations, same kind of theme came up, saying, we're trying to address these problems. We can't be the only ones doing this. How are others doing it? And so the thought occurred, hey, let's have this competition. Let's have people come from their organizations and showcase their knowledge package, showcase the efforts that they put into their collection of knowledge and their unique and creative ways of how they're solving business challenges. And so we started with this Cool K-PAC competition. And through the years, we've had several organizations come, they bring their knowledge packets, they demonstrate them, and then the audience votes. And then based on that votes is who gets the Cool K-PAC Cup. And so we've had a lot of success doing that. So much so that I want to take the time to address and acknowledge some past champions. So if we look, starting in 2017, Navistar was the first to win. Yeah, go Navistar. Yep, first to win the Cool K-PAC Cup. Borg Warner followed that up with a cool Method K-PAC at the time, and Matt Barron followed that up and won that year. Navistar came in strong again and won the cup. Darryl Yarbrough from GM had some cool CAD stuff that he showed in 2020. We had our own shipbuilding, Fincantieri Marine Systems. John Yanconi came and showed some dynamic work instructions and how they function inside of ship design and operations. And then last year we had Chris Pizzo from GM show a stage gate type workflow. And this year we haven't crowned our winner yet. So before we bring up the contestant, I kind of want to highlight one of the other questions you get is when we start to solicit the organizations, say, hey, you want to enter the Cool K-PAC competition, we often hear well, what makes a Cool K-PAC? And there's really no definition for it. It's really just kind of a unique way that you've solved a challenge or implemented knowledge in the flow, a knowledge-aware approach into some business process. And so just some examples from the past that we've seen. Let's see here. We've had some that are more, basic structures with most of the time there is some logic built in. You see the value table there. There's often images. Complex value tables doesn't mean it's necessarily a Cool K-PAC, but based on its function, it might be really cool. So if you're doing stuff in your organization where you're implementing logic into the design, it could be entered in as a Cool K-PAC. As you can see, here's some more, another example of one that was entered in the past with a value table. Here's one that was structured as a lookup table based on some fasteners and what would be required based on some environmental factors, which was a really cool one that year. A shipbuilding one based on valve lash, and more of a method type thing where there's inputs and it was able to say, well, if this was a good or bad measurement. More value tables indicating good or bad values, and then some process-based stuff. So now that you've kind of seen some of the ones from the past, I want to bring up our first contestant this year, and that is Darryl Yarbrough from GM. So everybody give Darryl a round of applause. And Darryl's going to take us through a Cool K-PAC that he created, and he's going to show us how it functions and describe why he created it, what its intended use is in his workflow, and give us a little preview. Okay. You want this one or that one?
Well, this will work.
That'll work.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So I created this K-PAC to actually be used within a smart CAD system. We had a best practice where we were determining information on the bolster, and it was written in a strange way. So it didn't use value tables initially, so we couldn't make use of it in the smart CAD. And it was also written in a way, in a sense, for example, if the question was, do you not like the movie? And so if you say yes, does that mean you like it or that you don't like it? And so me and the architect argued about this for a couple of days, what it was really trying to say. So once we met with the owner, we were able to come up with this particular K-PAC. Oh, okay. So basically you have the outside height and the inner height, and the minimum of that, if that's greater than 65, and if the ratio of that height and the width is greater than 0.75, then you need a bracket. If the height is greater than 80, you need a bracket. In all other instances, you don't. So I will enter in the numbers here, make this 67, make this 66, make the width 22, and I say there's no bracket, and I end up with a fail condition. If I put the bracket in, I end up with the pass condition. And so what we end up doing is we run our connector tool and we connect this to the math, and the math will have measurements in it that measure the section, and it takes the height, the two heights, and it takes the width, it passes it to the Auros server, and then it returns the conformance state, which then shows up in our CAD system and lets us know if we're passing. And one thing that we did add that wasn't there before was a condition where if it doesn't need a bracket, then we provided the yellow conformance state that says that you're adding unnecessary cost and weight to the system. Yeah, I think that's about it.
All right. Thanks, Darryl. So Darryl is our 2023 Cool K-PAC Cup winner, and I'd like to... Right on, Darryl. Congratulations. So this is the second time Darryl has won it, and he deserves it. He does a lot of cool stuff. He continually, year after year, submits different knowledge packets to be considered in the Cool K-PAC competition. So again, let's give up a round of applause for Darryl. So before we move on, I want to bring up one thing. So as I mentioned in the beginning, we got some feedback that, people wanted to see how different organizations were solving different use case problems. And so this competition became a thing. So one of the things we're starting to hear now throughout this round of solicitations for this year was a lot of organizations say we don't have a Cool K-PAC, singular, a Cool K-PAC. We have collections of K-PACs that we use in assessments that do cool things, but this isn't an assessment competition. So what I want you guys to do is provide feedback to us on whether or not we should migrate this competition from a K-PAC-based competition to an assessment-based competition, where you see more of collections of K-PACs used together to produce an outcome specific to a use case. If you guys would like to see that next year going forward, maybe it's no longer a Cool K-PAC competition, maybe it's Awesome Assessment or some other clever name, but just let us know in the comments. We would appreciate it, and we'll consider your feedback, and we'll see where that goes for next year. Other than that, that's all I had for today. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it back over to Amy.
That's fun, and nice to see the trophy in person too.